Hey man, one of the hardest truths to swallow in this game is that her tests aren't a sign of rejection, they're often a sign of deeper interest. I know it sounds backward, but the more a woman feels something real for you, the more likely she is to throw you off balance, poke at your composure, and see if the man she's drawn to is as solid as he appears. Because what she's really testing isn't your patience, it's your consistency. She wants to know, can you hold your frame under pressure? Can you stay grounded when emotions rise? Are you leading because you're rooted or because you're faking it until she falls for it? When a woman wants you more, she becomes more vulnerable, and with vulnerability comes risk. And with risk comes fear. So what does she do? She tests. Not because she's evil, not because she wants to break you, but because she wants to trust you. But she can't trust a man who's easily rattled. She can't open up to someone who collapses the second she challenges his position. So she throws little storms your way, not to destroy you, but to watch how you weather them. And the man who weathers them with quiet strength, calm presence, and zero need for emotional reassurance, that's the man who earns her deeper self. You'll see it when things start to feel close. You've got her attention, she's drawn in, and just when the connection starts to feel real, she says something sharp, pulls back suddenly, gets moody over something minor. That's not her losing interest. It's her saying, this feels too good to be true. Let's see if he stays solid when I get unsure. And if you crumble, if you explain yourself, over-apologize, beg for her to come back to her senses, you failed the test. But if you stay calm, don't chase the mood swing, and just continue being who you were before it hit, she feels safe, even if she doesn't say it. These tests come in many forms. Sometimes it's emotional distance, sometimes it's questioning your intentions, sometimes it's teasing, sarcasm, or temporary indifference. The form doesn't matter. The root is always the same. She wants to know if the man she's opening herself to is emotionally unshakable, because her feminine energy is chaos by nature. It's movement, emotion, testing, feeling, shifting, and if your masculine energy collapses every time she moves, she can't lean on you. But if you hold, if you remain the same man, grounded, unfazed, leading with calm conviction, she can relax into you, and that's all she's really after. Most men misinterpret her tests. They take them personally. They get offended. They think she's being mean or manipulative, and that's when they fail, because they start reacting emotionally to something that wasn't about them in the first place. It was about her fear of trusting a man too soon. And your reaction confirms or dissolves that fear. When you react with neediness, anger, or emotional chaos, you validate her fear. But when you react with calm, clarity, or even silence, you neutralize her fear. And now she sees you not as just another man, but as a man who cannot be moved by emotional wind. This is why the man she's indifferent toward rarely gets tested. If she doesn't care, she doesn't test. She doesn't care if he's strong. She doesn't care if he's composed. He's not in her heart, so there's no reason to challenge his presence. But the man who makes her feel something, that man will face fire. Not because he's failing, but because he's winning. And she needs to know that if she follows him deeper, he won't shatter. That's what the testing is about. Not destruction, not punishment, just emotional vetting for long-term trust. You handle her tests by not fighting them, by not taking them as signs of disrespect. You let them pass through like a wave. You smile at her sarcasm. You don't get defensive when she throws a subtle challenge. You don't try to fix the shift in her mood. You just stay steady. Keep leading. Keep showing up as the same man, regardless of her energy. That emotional discipline is what earns her surrender, because when you're not afraid of her chaos, you become the anchor she's been searching for. Understand this, the tests don't stop, they evolve. Even when she falls for you, even when she loves you, she'll still test your strength, not maliciously, but because the feminine energy respects tension, it craves polarity, and polarity can't exist if you're always agreeing, always yielding, always chasing harmony. Sometimes she needs to feel your edge, not your anger, your boundaries, your calm refusal to bend, your ability to stand firm without ever raising your voice. That contrast heightens her respect, even if she pretends to be upset about it in the moment. You also need to stop interpreting her tests as threats to your identity. The moment you think, I must pass this or she'll leave me, you're already giving up your frame. Her tests are invitations, not ultimatums. Invitations for you to prove to yourself who you really are. She's not watching for perfection, she's watching for authenticity under pressure. Can you be grounded when it's inconvenient? Can you stay composed when her emotions are out of sync? That's when she sees your real strength. Not when everything is peaceful, but when everything feels uncertain and you stay exactly the same. She wants to feel your emotional independence, that her love doesn't make you weak, that her beauty doesn't distract you from your values, that her silence doesn't change your rhythm. And when she sees that, when she tests and you stay seated in your throne, unmoved, unbothered, but still present, she leans in harder, she softens, because now she knows she's not just with a man who wants her, she's with a man who doesn't need her to validate who he is. That kind of presence, it's irresistible. One of the most misunderstood truths in relationships is that a woman doesn't test you because she wants to break your confidence. She tests you because she wants to believe in it. She wants to feel the edge of your certainty and see that it doesn't crack. She wants to know that your composure isn't performative, that it's real, lived in, earned. That when she presses a little, you don't flinch, you don't get defensive, you don't switch up to accommodate her feelings. You remain calm, consistent, and quietly aware. And in that moment, she breathes deeper, because now she knows this man is solid, not just when things are easy, but when things get unpredictable. Here's the paradox. When she feels safe with you, she'll sometimes test you harder. Why? Because the safer a woman feels to express herself, the more her feminine energy wants to dance with your masculine edge. That edge is what excites her. It's what makes her feel alive. And testing isn't always some dramatic sabotage. Sometimes it's playful, subtle, a teasing remark, a challenging question, a moment of resistance just to see if you'll keep leading. And the man who passes those tests doesn't react, he guides, he redirects, he smirks instead of snapping, and leans back instead of leaning in. That calm resistance, it's not rejection, it's attraction with backbone. A woman's tests are often her way of saying, "Show me you're safe to follow," and she won't use those words. She might roll her eyes, she might challenge your ideas, she might act distant for a moment. But what she's really doing is watching your structure, because she knows if your mood depends on hers, you can't lead. If your confidence drops every time she withdraws, you're not in your power. And the man who can't hold power, she can't fully trust. So when she tests and sees you stay grounded, that's when her walls start to lower. You build this unshakable presence, not through aggression or dominance, but through emotional detachment from the outcome. You're not trying to win her approval. You're not afraid of her pulling away. You know your value. And because you're not attached to keeping her, you're able to lead her. That paradox creates the deepest respect. Because the man who doesn't fear losing her is the man who never tries to control her. And that freedom, that respect for her movement, that's what makes her want to submit to your leadership emotionally, mentally, and physically. Even if she gets loud, you stay quiet, not out of fear, but out of discipline. You don't try to out-yell her, you don't match her chaos. You remain calm, because your authority comes from centered stillness. You say less, but every word lands heavier. You respond slower, but your words cut through noise. And as she watches you stay calm through the fire, her attraction deepens. Not because you won the argument, but because you proved that her emotions don't control your behavior. That's when she starts respecting your silence more than she respected other men's explanations. The longer you stay consistent in the face of her tests, the more she relaxes. She starts opening up more, being softer, respecting your time and your presence. Why? Because now you've given her the gift of emotional certainty. She no longer has to wonder if you're stable. She no longer fears that one disagreement will shake you. And when a woman feels that certainty, that emotional solid ground beneath her, she opens, fully. Because now she knows you're not afraid of her full expression. You're inviting it, without fear, without control, without emotional collapse. And if she ever escalates her tests, if things get intense, you don't take it personally. You don't retaliate, you observe. You ask yourself, is this a moment to correct, or a moment to withdraw my energy? Because the man who knows his worth doesn't fight for respect. He removes access when respect isn't present. That quiet boundary speaks louder than confrontation. It says, you're free to be who you are, but I'm also free to walk away if my peace is compromised. And sometimes that's the ultimate test response, not resistance, but removal. Eventually, she'll say something like, "You don't react like most guys," or "I feel calm around you." That's when you know she's seen it, she's felt it, not just your words, but your emotional spine. And from that moment forward, the nature of her tests change. They become less frequent, less sharp, because now she trusts. And when a woman trusts you emotionally, you unlock a different version of her. The version that respects your presence as much as she craves your touch. But you only get there by passing the early tests, by not folding under the pressure, by not explaining yourself every 5 minutes, by not proving your worth to a woman who's still trying to prove herself to you. You pass by being unmoved in your truth, not unkind, not cold, but unshakable. That kind of energy is rare. It's what separates the boy who craves attention from the man who commands emotional gravity. So remember this, man, when she tests you, don't see it as disrespect. See it as recognition of your potential. She's saying, "I want to feel safe with you, but I need to know you can handle all of me." And when you meet that test with calm, steady power, when you don't flinch, fold, or fumble, that's when she stops pushing and starts falling. Not because you passed the game, but because you proved your presence was real.